Hello Kunai, and welcome to your monthly review. So checking out here, you're a driven player and you're currently trialing for a new guild and looking to push yourself, so we're gonna try and help you do just that. Firstly, let me do a quick critique of your UI, see if there's anything. I mean, just at first glance, this looks fine, it's pretty clean, shows everything it needs to. And you're using, I think, the FNR setup or maybe the Gingy setup. They look pretty similar, but either way, it shows the focus, your cooldowns, and the frenzy tracker is right here. So everything looks fine from a UI perspective. I won't spend any more time on that. All right, let's see here. So you did submit for, let's see, survival. Let me pick out sort of your strongest performance on a boss that's also relatively difficult. More hungering, artificer, huntsman. See, huntsman is easier to pass on, generally speaking, although it is like very much an outlier. Artificer has a bit like, because you can sort of inflate a artificer pass by, you know, doing less mechanics than others, or getting luckier with mechanics. Whereas huntsman is pretty straightforward. So I think that's the one I'm gonna look at. But if I feel like it's not giving me info on certain things, then I'll look into something else as well. So setup wise, very minor thing, but you know, remember to swap out of camouflage when you're heading into a raid from doing Mythic Plus and stuff. Natural mending is just far better. Camouflage, completely useless. Or even if you don't, like, if you feel like you're not making use of natural mending, which I feel like sometimes, especially on late farm, just go for Trailblazer instead. Like, there's some situations it's kind of nice to have, because some fights have a bit of a forced downtime, where it can be good to have. For example, on the case of this particular raid, Sire, Trailblazer, I think, covers an entire stack of blood price, so if you mess up in any way, then Trailblazer can actually save you there. Other than that, it's cookie cutter talents, strength of the pack, deadly tandem, which is perfect for this fight. Set up your gemming for haste, but you have it like a moderate, yeah, so equal split, crit verse, high haste, this seems fine to me. I assume you've simmed it. Celestial guidance also fine. This looks to be... Yeah, they recently changed this. It didn't used to be like, obviously these numbers are way off. I guess there's some Dragonflight spell data in there. But point is, everything looks good. Alright, now I'm just gonna hop straight over to WoW Analyzer. Let me see, do I have it bookmarked? Seems I've missed that. All good. Timeline. Oh, let's see, maybe the timeline. Okay, the timeline is working. So first thing I'm noticing here, so 2 Serpent Stings off the pull on this fight seems fine. I just want to make sure that they're actually on different fights. They are. Now that actually brings me, because I just noticed that there's modes on this fight. And these spawn like 16 seconds in. So you want to be saving your initial CDs for that moment, and I hope you're doing so, which it looks like you are doing. So 16 seconds, and you spawn here, and they last how long? Basically what I'm looking for is, are you completely covering the duration? So yeah, wild spirits last 18 seconds, and you popped at 14, you would end at 32. So 14 seconds is the perfect timing. And you go in with the bomb and the calf, kill command. Then you have a quick red bomb. But then, so what I'm curious about here is, okay, for this red bomb, you did 4 kill commands in a row. Did you override any procs in that process? The best way to do that is you find yourself, you go to buffs, then you go to events. Then you over here, all abilities, you change it to Mad Bombardier. And what you do is you just Control F in your browser and you search for refresh. And you only had 1 refresh at the 128 mark, so we can go there and look, okay, like what are the circumstances of that maybe? Let me see here. 129. This kill command was a refresh. You had a red bomb going from the 123 mark. So what it looks like to me is like you were maybe trying to focus too much on squeezing every kill command into the red bomb, forgetting that you actually had a proc going from this kill command. That's what I would assume happened. But there was no refreshes here, just got kind of bad RNG, straight into red bomb again. Mistake number, big mistake here, is like you have a red bomb active, you hit the kill command good, and then you hit the raptor strike out of nowhere. The only reason you would hit a raptor strike during a red bomb is if your next bomb is red, which it wasn't, because we can tell that the next bomb is green. And you have a proc available. Because at that point, like as soon as you have your next bomb is red and you already have a 2-piece proc, the value of your next of the current red bomb window is kind of diminished. And you just want to set yourself up in the best way for the next one. because of course there's no way to continue milking. Like you cannot hold a red bomb proc at all. Like you can't, like, how do I explain it? It would be nice if you could have a red bomb, and then if you had another red bomb, you could somehow save that red bomb for after the current one is over. But you can't, because in the process of spending procs, you'll cast a bomb. That's all I'm trying to say. There are no Raptor Strikes during red bomb unless the next one is red. Then we go straight into CDs. Now I'm curious here, so this would have lasted around 6 seconds. There's a bit of travel time, so it probably lasted until at 650, and you're managing 2 kill commands in that. Then you get a proc. So I would think here that after casting this shrapnel, that your first global should have been the calf at this point, because it's been off CD for a while. As soon as the red bomb is over, and you're hitting this bomb, assuming that it's on 2 charges, which I'm not even sure about. Maybe this 16-second kill command actually gave you a proc, but it actually didn't. So you shouldn't have cast this bomb right here. You should have cast 2 kill commands to milk this red bomb straight into a calf. Because you didn't get a proc out of them, I can tell that from looking at the log. And there would still have been 2 targets up or more at this point, since the modes are about to spawn. Other than that, so red and then calf here. Then also like a Raptor Strike. So it's possible that you had nothing else to cast here. So if you're just kind of waiting on the bomb to come off cooldown. In this situation, when you're so, like, everything relies on you getting procs right now, I would probably just spam kill command, if at all possible. Just, even though it's not a red bomb, Coordinated Assault will still buff your kill command reset chance, so it's better than nothing. And in a situation like this, where there are modes coming up and like every proc matters so insanely much, way more than it would on a single target situation, I would like forego this Raptor Strike and just focus on the kill commands. Anyway, eventually get a red bomb, and it gives you what looks like decent procs. Double kill command, yeah. This basically, like, these good procs kind of set you up for the whole rest of the pass, right? Because let's see, so the last few seconds of the modes is what matters the most, and in just the last 4 seconds or so, you're getting 2 bombs in, which is pretty good, and one of those would have been buffed. And it's hard to get much better than that given the short time span we're talking about. I mean, double bomb, calf, bit of kill commanding, and then double bomb right into the late modes is just really good. So RNG was definitely smiling at you here. Alright, now we're coming out of the CD window. Double bomb, and now we're kill commanding. Okay, so here you cast these double serpent stings, even though your next bomb is not a red one, because I can tell that the next one being cast is a blue one. So what I'm curious about is, since you cast this pheromone bomb at 34.5, it would have ended around 41 seconds. Meaning that these 2 serpent stings should have been kill commands instead. So at its core, you're basically prioritizing spells that aren't kill command during red bombs, and that's a mistake. So obviously Exhibit 1 was casting, when was it? Back here, they opened this Raptor Strike during this red bomb, and here you're refreshing serpent stings in the middle of your red bomb. You should have saved that for after. The only situation you would have done that is if this bomb was going to be red, because then, you know, suddenly this red bomb window doesn't matter anymore, because you got a new one coming up, and you just want to get rid of your tip of the spear stacks, get your serpent stings up and everything, and then continue just blasting the bombs and the kill commands. Alright, we're coming out of the normal rotation. So here, like, I see 3 serpent stings, but I'm pretty sure there would only be 2 targets up at this point, so I'm just gonna filter down to serpent sting here, and go to around the 38-39 second mark. I think it's better to check casts actually. Makes it a bit less messy. Yeah, so here you hit. Okay, so you put serpent sting up on Barghast, and then you put serpent sting up on Ultimore, and then 3 seconds later Ultimore again. So yeah, just casting unnecessary serpent stings that could have been either, you know, kill commands or Raptor Strikes. Minor stuff, but you know, it all adds up in the end. And here we're just doing regular rotation. Something I wish I could, like, I can't see it so well here is, like, if you're overcasting kill command outside of red bombs, it's hard to see without a VOD, because obviously I can't use this number for anything because it's naturally going to be high just due to how red bombs work. Anyway, we go into another red bomb window, double bomb. Then let's see. So right after it ends, your Raptor striking, which is fine. You're doing your CC. And here you refresh Serpent Sting again, but you had a green bomb back here. Which would have refreshed your Serpent Sting to like pretty much full 18-second duration, because you cast it here on Huntsman, and then you basically refresh it to full duration. I guess 12 seconds. I wouldn't necessarily have done this yet. But yeah, minor stuff. Looking further on. So I'd hope that this 102 is on Barghest. Yep. Okay. I'm just wondering, like, when did Barghest actually come back? Because I want to look at like how disciplined you're being with using Carve on cooldown, basically. So done to enemy is what we'd search for. And Barghest basically enters the fray at around... Well, Barghest is actually here the whole time, as far as I can tell. I guess it varies if it's in the raid or out. Basically, what I'm noticing is that even though Barghest is active basically the whole time, it dies extremely slowly. You're not really carving. So I wonder, maybe it's being taken away. That's again one of those things I can't. Maybe I can check the replay. I get a basic idea of how it went down. But basically, you know, if there's 2 targets up at all, which there seem to be. This is obviously Margot in the beginning. I could filter this down. Like, these are modes. Okay, Barghest kind of leaves the building at around 36. And you're just kind of single targeting, and then at around the 55-second mark, that is when you should start carving again. But you don't like you carve a bit, and then there's the kill command window. So okay, here's another red bomb where you like are refreshing Serpent Stings in the middle of the red bomb, which is a mistake, even though your next bomb is not a red one. So some repeat mistakes there. But also from when Barghest came back into the fray here, I guess you're actually carving decently leading up to the red bomb. Then as soon as it ends at around 114. Okay, so here you're actually carving on 2 targets during red bomb, which is a mistake. You should have just been straight up kill commanding. It's not worth carving during red bomb on only 2 targets in any situation. And then Mythic Plus, it's only worth carving on in red bomb like 4 to 5 targets. Alright. So red bomb here, and that lasts until then. So here, for example, like after this shrapnel bomb, so like you're just coming out of a red bomb, right? And you have a red bomb waiting. I would get, like, it's generally good to get carve off cooldown before getting into your red bomb. Like, when you have a red bomb ready to go, you kind of want to set yourself up for success. Like, make sure your Serpent Stings are refreshed. Get rid of your tip of the spear stacks. Get carve on cooldown, and then you can go. Whereas here it looks like you're a little bit too eager to go. And also, you cast this carve in the middle of the red bomb again. That should have been before, obviously. But it's mostly like small details that I don't see any like glaring issues. The main thing is that you're just not maximizing your red bombs as much as you could. Like there's just multiple instances of you missing a global in your red bomb because like you're throwing a random raptor strike in there, you're refreshing Serpent Sting when you shouldn't, you're carving when you shouldn't, stuff like that. So just like, you know, what I'm looking, internalizing the rotation a bit more, being more disciplined with like, okay, red bomb, you want to get anything that isn't kill command out of the way before entering the red bomb window. Because you're not really in a rush. Unless you're about to hit 2 charges, you're not in a rush to get into a red bomb, start your red bomb window. Unless there's something in the fight that demands your damage immediately. But yeah, overall pretty solidly played. Is there anything else I could say? Like, let's look at like one of your weaker fights maybe. Have a real quick look. So like fights that you've done a few times that have like a consistently weak pass is what I'm looking for. So obviously, yep. I should filter this to survival. You've only like there's a few fights you've done twice. Yeah, Stone Legion Generals might be a good one because that's like such a beautiful survival fight. And you're kind of consistently doing like 30k on it. And let's see if you died. Yeah, so no death. So what can be done here? So there's an element of CD timing. And then maybe I can bring up my own Stone Legion. Still rank 1 somehow. I think this would even be from the same week. But this back in August actually, but it's still relevant in terms of cooldown timing. So I popped my CDs around 16 seconds in, and you pop yours around 11 seconds in. So let's see, is that a little bit too early maybe? Because the actual, like, the skirmishes don't enter the fray until like 15 seconds in. From the 11-second mark, you have the Goliath, but the skirmishes basically last for, you know, they enter the fight at around 16 seconds, which means that you need, if you were to pop right there, your Wild Spirits would end at, let me do math, for the 34 seconds, right? And at the 34-second mark, there's still skirmishes active. So you could have got more cleave damage out of your initial Wild Spirits here by just delaying it a few more seconds. So that's the main thing there. Then I just want to see about you, because like this fight is a lot to do with like lining up your CDs well with stuff that happens. And the best way to do, like, have a look at that is, okay, so overlay your cast of Wild Spirits with done to enemy, because that sort of visualizes when ads spawn. We can zoom in on this point. For example, here your well, this couldn't really have been any quicker, and I think this is where it kind of went wrong. So with how quickly you're doing the fight, if you would have Wild Spirits at 16 seconds when the first skirmish is spawned, like I'd recommend, because you're pushing through so quickly, your Wild Spirits wouldn't come back up until basically after the first phase 2 skirmishes have spawned. So with that in mind, I would have saved your Wild Spirits for the second set of skirmishes that spawn not that much later at around, what's this, like 240. Then you would have had it back at 440, which would have been after the Lust, which is not great, but it would have hit skirmishes. And it doesn't look like, you know, like the most of the reason you have this peak of damage right here is because of the Wild Spirits, not so much the Lust. And this Wild Spirits was, I mean, we can even overlay the specific damage from Wild Spirits. That's maybe better. Let's see. Don't buy ability. Go Wild Spirits here. You see how much smaller this one is? If you delayed it a little bit more, it could have been much bigger. And I think this one would have been roughly the same size, maybe a bit smaller. And obviously this one could have been a lot bigger as well. And at the end of the day, you end up with more Wild Spirits damage. And because you also pop other stuff on top of your Wild Spirits, you end up with more damage on everything. So that's something you could do to improve this blue to like a purple-orange. And I think, you know, and I'd be happy to review one of these in a VOD, because that's a kind of complex fight and there's a lot to min-max, both with positioning and carving, and like there's a lot of minor stuff. I think this was a mode skill. I don't think yours was. I think I would have noticed that. But you can still do pretty good even without modes. I mean, this one, 33k from early August. Those are also modes. Damn, I suck. 36k late September. This one was not modes. I think I may have died here or something went wrong. Oh, yeah, I actually died in this one. It's not very representative, but yeah. There you go. I hope that helps. Any questions, don't hesitate to hit me up on Discord. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.